There we go. Awesome. Well, thank you again for doing this.
Of course, happy to be here.
Oh yeah, always a pleasure. Um, it, you know, when uh, when I notice I'm doing things like once a year with the same person, that's usually a good sign for someone's career. That like, right around when the weather gets cold. All right, let's talk. Um, and I would imagine for you, it's certainly fun to be back in, especially since it's somewhat of a family affair and it's revisiting work you've done. Like, there's so many things about it that make it the fact that it's so widely liked and that you specifically are getting praised because we all like to be praised for anything. Let's be real, no matter what.
Let's be honest.
Yeah, but there's something about it that I feel like when it goes right, there's that little bit extra of like, okay, good, because not only did I want it to go right, there's people who are now invested in this going right. That's different.
Yeah, well, and I mean, when Ryan first sent me the script for Glass Onion, and this is kind of what happens every time he sends me a script. I kind of just set aside all my preconceived ideas, and I'm not thinking about music. I'm just reading his script just purely as a fan, and to see other people responding to the movie the same way that I responded when I read that script is just really, really fun.
Oh yeah, because you can't. I imagine you can't think about the music until you like figure out the movie, and hopefully one go, oh, this is a movie I want to see. I would
Yeah,
imagine, and maybe I'm sure it happens, but it's probably very difficult to go. All right, I'm gonna compose 90 minutes to 2 hours to 2.5 hours worth of music for something I'm indifferent to.
no, totally. I mean, that's really the very much the core thing for me. The most important part is, do I want to see this movie? Is this a story that I'm excited about? Is this a director I want to work with? And honestly, the style of music or whatever that's going to be, that all comes secondary. I feel like if the movie is good, that is the engine for
Mhm.
a composer that gives you the drive to come up with whatever that specific story is going to require.
Totally. And for a sequel, at what point do you start considering the possibility of recurring themes? I know very little about music. I just know what I like. But I imagine for you, when you're sitting there and okay, it's set in a different place, the tone is a little bit different. These are all things that make the music probably sound different, but we're also revisiting a character. It's still in a similar genre. Like, how much do you rely on what you did before versus, throw it all away?
Yeah, and honestly, in terms of this, and I'm not sure how it works in most sequels, but in terms of this, not very much
Mhm.
was relying on what we did before. I mean, we definitely we're in the same orchestral world. We've got the same precision, and a few of Blanc's motifs recur, but I think it's 98% entirely new music. But I think that is a tribute to what I really love about Ryan's approach to these is he's not actually really thinking about them as sequels. It's like a new chapter. Obviously, it's a whole new cast, but very much the thing that I love is the movie is structurally completely different. It's also tonally different. We're leaning into sort of that big, lush European sort of 70s orchestral sound that we loved growing up, and it's very much its own beast.
Oh yeah, I'm speaking to him tomorrow, and you do get the sense that it starts well, what do I want to see? What will tickle me if I didn't make this and I was gonna go see another one of these, what would make me go, I'm glad they made another one? Because that's the thing. I think the more you like film and the more you see a lot of things, and you don't necessarily want the same thing. There are certain things that like, okay, I want this because I like it a certain way. But most for something like this that has such potential, you'd be disappointed if it sounded exactly the same. If there were 3 or 4 cameos of the last, it would start to be like, oh, you're being cute with us, as opposed to this is completely original from bones up. It just happens to be another adventure with someone now we want to watch do 100 of these.
100%. No, I know, and it's each movie, the casts have been so amazing as well, and it's like, oh man, we want to keep hanging out with these people, but I think the story really requires it to be each one is a whole new thing, and I think that makes it really, from in terms of craftspeople involved with these, it makes it really exciting for us because it means each one is going to be a new sandbox that we get to play in.
And then musically, I mean, not necessarily in every film, but a lot of times when you introduce a new character, you get to tinker with the sound just a little bit because, cues them tell the audience that they're not the same person. With these, you get, a dozen of them essentially. You get to keep going. All right, we got a new character. They're completely different personality. Go grab that banjo or whatever like weird thing that you're like, I don't have any use for it. You know what? I can tinker and I can make this sound completely different because we want everyone to feel sort of like, oh, what are we watching now? You can tell that there's fun just happening.
No, 100%. I mean, it really does feel like, honestly, like the best sandbox in the world to get to play in.
Yeah. Once you start to figure out the sound, and obviously you talk to your director on any project, how do you start to build it out? Because at the beginning, it's just, well, what instruments maybe, or what's the North Star for this? And I would imagine it's also maybe slightly easier on these because you know the director pretty well. But like, how do the conversations go to get you on the point where then you can, pick up an instrument, start getting the band together, as it were?
Yeah, well, I think we kind of established in the first one that these are going to be full orchestral scores, and that obviously that's a limitless world to play in. But because Ryan and I have grown up doing this our whole lives together, it's great because I'm able to come in really early. I go on set and bring a little writing rig, and I'm kind of watching the whole tone of the movie develop. I'm watching the performances happen. I'm watching the actors kind of find what the whole thing is going to feel like, and at the same time, I'm doing explorational sketches. So at that point, it's very simple. Sometimes just piano lines. I'm looking for melodies that feel like they're going to capture the tone of the world, but also be able to be pulled apart, to be reharmonized, to be able to be morphed throughout the whole movie. And so really all it involves is me sketching up ideas. And when Ryan gets done with shooting for the day, I go over to his hotel room and play him stuff, and we're very much, I mean, these are very collaborative scores. So he will have clear ideas. Sometimes his eyes light up and he's like, yes, that's perfect. Sometimes it's like, it wants to be more this or more that. So it's a real luxury to have that much time to just, it's almost like, oftentimes composers are brought in pretty close to the end of the project.
Yeah.
And it's
here's a movie, add music.
Yeah, here's a movie, add music, go, you got 3 weeks, go. But
great.
This is much more planting seeds and seeing which ones over a longer period of time, which ones feel like, okay, they're growing. That's what this is going to sound like.
And having a relationship like that, I think, is important because I've heard over the years, talking to especially directors, it's not always easy to tell someone, okay, I know you work really hard in this music, but it's going this way. We have to go this way. It's not that the music's bad. It's just not going to fit what we're trying to do. And that takes a soft touch. And I think, one, you can tell the people work together more than once have that, but also, you guys being close, especially with music, because I was just watching Springsteen's interview with Howard Stern talking about, like, I'll go years without having a song in my head and I never know if it's going to come. And sometimes it comes, and what do you know? I got an album, call the band. So the idea of, like, you got 3 weeks to make, 2 hours worth of original music, completely original, go. I would imagine some of that 3 weeks is spent just curled up in a ball crying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you'd be amazed what having a deadline does to that creative engine. But given
who needs that? I've got a drum.
But given the choice, this is really a pretty amazing opportunity to get to work this closely. And Ryan's talking to me about ideas from even before script stage. So it's really it's a really, obviously, a fruitful collaboration that I really love.
Is it wild at this point that you make the film, it takes however long it takes to come out, you're thinking about other work, you're starting on other things, you're talking to other things, and then it comes time to promote the thing. You've already thought about what you're doing next. You're kind of backtracking to this. And at the same time, you're probably starting those conversations with Ryan of like, so I'm thinking for the next one you start to do this. So you've got all these different things in your head. Does it just feel surreal at times to be like, not only did we do the thing we thought about doing, like, as a kid, like, we're doing it on this epic scale where like there's t-shirts made of the thing we did.
Well, you're wearing the T-shirt. I love
Exactly.
it. No,
Like
yeah, no,
Netflix printed a million of these and sent them to people like randomly.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's completely surreal, but also it's kind of a really nice opportunity to get to go back and like look at it. You in the midst of it, you're not thinking about any of this stuff. You're just like,
Oh,
how can this best serve the scene? How can this serve the movie? So it's kind of fun to get the opportunity to look back on it, and also to see how people are responding to it. Obviously, that really is, yeah, really fun to kind of see it connect with people.
can you hear your own music, or is it weird if something pops up like if you're flipping channels and you hear Knives Out happens to be on and you go, oh, I did that. Is it weird or does it the sort of fade away into just music?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't actively go listening to it, but it's
Yeah.
fun to hear it out in the world, and it's something that Ryan talks about. I mean, once you've made it, it kind of ceases to become your own thing, and other people connect it to things that are important to them, or connect it to certain emotions. So yeah,
Oh, yeah, yeah, he
it's
definitely didn't make a movie that people have strong opinions about.
no,
It could
exactly.
be his.
He,
Yeah, that never happened.
he has
Um,
no clue what he's talking about when it comes to that.
nope, completely foreign idea. But no, it's I think you can tell how much fun is happening and how like pure sounds like the wrong word for something that's so like tongue in cheek and satirizing, but it does feel like it's all just coming from a place of like, I can't believe we're getting away with this. And that's
Well,
sort of the most creative space you can be in.
no, and I think there is a purity there. I mean, it's that we aren't making these from a removed, like callous sort of like pointing a finger thing. We're really making these because we love them, and
Yeah.
we love the genre, and we love. I mean, certainly as a collaborator with Ryan, I love what he writes, and I love how he directs. It very much is. I know it's kind of reimagining a genre that feels old and in the past sometimes, and we're setting it in modern day America, but it's because we love these movies.
Yeah. And it shows. And you should be very proud. So as always, it is a pleasure to do these. And also just it's a pleasure to hear the music because you very rarely, I think there's a very select few amount of composers who get their stuff talked about. It's kind of like the best compliment until you reach a certain level is nobody says a word. You're like, okay, it worked. Everybody accepts the sound of the movie, and then you reach a certain level where people start to go, well, I want that music, or I like that guy, or like I'll look forward to someone's project because they have them attached. And you've hit that level. So you should be very proud.
Oh well, thanks, Joey. I mean, that's certainly how I think about my favorite composers. When there's someone that I love attached to a movie, I can't wait to see the movie just because one of my heroes is doing the music for it.
Exactly. Well, you've hit that level. So, live it up.
Well, I'm not sure, but I thank you for saying that.
I aim to please. Thank you as always for doing this.
Thanks so much, Joey.
Oh yeah, my pleasure.